Welcome to Shredder Fanfic. Like, subscribe, and hype video. Join members to gain early access to new videos.
The main character, after dying in his previous life, he wakes up inside a Marvel as a genius inventor. He creates Shenron at the start. What else is he gonna create inside a Marvel?
So a sudden explosion would be perfectly reasonable. Boss, you're truly a reincarnation of Zhuge Liang. Nick Fury originally thought that with his absolute power, he could protect his old boss's son, Tony, from the storm of public opinion, and then extricate himself from the matter. But he never expected it. Tony is such a troublemaker. It was less than half an hour. He saw the press conference held by the other party on the news. I killed Obadiah. I am Iron Man. Nick Fury. He was very troubled when he saw the news. But what troubled him even more was yet to come. Tony reached out and pulled someone over from the side. It was none other than Howard, who had been caught on camera by gossip reporters during his fight with Obadiah. This is my father, Howard. I brought him back to life. Nick Fury, 6. On the other side. Russell then followed Natasha to the core area of SHIELD. This place contains a wealth of information and various treasures. This place contains many valuable treasures, such as the so-called 84 items, many of which have unknown origins and mysterious effects. For example, the obelisk is a Terrigen crystal that can awaken superpowers in people with supernatural abilities. There was also the centipede serum, which was a human enhancement serum created by SHIELD scientists to mimic the super soldier serum, but the side effects were too severe, so it was put away. There is also the Tahiti device. It contains the blood of the Kree who died in the space war. It can be used to revive people, but the consequences are also very serious, leading to mental instability. There are also disguise masks, similar to those of the Skrulls. Gravitian, which will cause turmoil in the future. There is even a terrifying fragment of the Dark Book, which is on par with the Book of Vishanti. In a parallel universe, Iron Man obtained this fragment within SHIELD and fused steel with flesh and blood, achieving the feat of physical transformation and mechanical ascension. However, it looks very abstract and disgusting. This is also why Russell was willing to stay at SHIELD. Because there are so many good things. Once he becomes the bureau chief, all the good stuff here will be his. Russell easily retrieved the treasured vibranium from Natasha's back, and then went to another place where various mysterious bloods were stored. Everything about it is quite extraordinary. The labels on them indicate their origin. Kree blood, Captain America blood, Inhuman blood, Little Boy blood. A little boy. When Russell saw this unique name, he subconsciously took a second look. Natasha, standing nearby, knew perfectly well. This was left behind by a little boy named Peter Parker, who possessed extraordinary sensitivity and awareness of danger from a young age, escaping several major disasters. But unfortunately, scientists found through blood tests that he doesn't seem to have any superpowers. His so-called perception is probably just a sixth sense. He's probably 7 years old now. They may very well become excellent secret agents like us in the future. Russell's face was oddly colored. Perception of danger. Isn't that the famous Peter shock? In other universes, Spider-Man's powers come from mutated spiders bred by the Osborn Corporation. In the Marvel universe, Spider-Man's superpowers are actually innate. Russell was somewhat surprised. He hadn't expected SHIELD to discover the other party so early, probably because Peter was too young and his superpowers hadn't fully awakened yet. The other child is only 7 years old. You have to be at least 14 years old to become a superhero. He joined the Avengers in Civil War at the age of 17 and participated in the Siege of Thanos. Thinking about it this way, Captain America, you are guilty of heinous crimes. You bullied a minor. Russell glanced at it briefly. I didn't pay much attention. After all, the other person is still just a little kid. But a casual glance brought him to a look of great joy. The Hulk's blood. High-value mission detected. There are countless races in the universe, not just humans. There is no necessarily war and aggression between races. There is also peace and friendship. As a Namekian, please help Doctor Bruce Banner, a member of a mutated race in distress, to control his powers, escape danger, and gain the approval of others. Mission difficulty, 3 stars. Whether to accept. Upon success, the 3rd layer of the Namekian template will be activated, granting the reward of bloodline evolution and the attainment of the Namekian dragon bloodline. The Dragon Balls created will possess even greater power, capable of influencing the entire universe. After awakening your dragon bloodline, you need to recreate the Dragon Balls. The old Dragon Balls will automatically become invalid, and you will have another chance to make a wish. Russell. Russell, what? Make a new wish. His eyes lit up with surprise. Happiness had come so suddenly. Chapter 23, Peter won a shock. No, Ultra Instinct, news of mutants. Dragon Balls are actually divided into different levels. In the Dragon Ball universe, the Namekians were able to create the Dragon Balls because they were related to the legendary Dragon God and were likely descendants of the Dragon God. They can create Dragon Balls based on their bloodline, and the dragons summoned by the Dragon Balls will have different effects depending on their strength. It's like the Dragon of Earth. When faced with Beerus, the god of destruction, he was so terrified that he was like a mouse, not daring to breathe and almost collapsing to the ground. Be as humble as you can be. But dragon gods, Dragon Balls, are so powerful that they are beyond description. Each one is as big as a planet. They are even distributed across 2 universes. The dragon's effects were incredibly powerful. It could even revive a destroyed universe. Keep in mind that every universe has so many planets and countless lives. Even the powerful god of destruction and Supreme Kai. They were all revived without much effort. The level is clearly quite high. In the Marvel universe, it's far more powerful than the so-called Infinity Stones. Russell only had the most common Namekian bloodline, so the dragon he created was naturally not strong, at most at the level of Earth's dragons. But now all we need to do is complete Task 3. This will allow the bloodline to evolve once. It is possible not only to break the 3,000 combat power ceiling of ordinary Namekians, but also to achieve a combat type similar to Nail, raising the combat value to tens of thousands. They can even create even stronger Dragon Balls. The legendary Elder of Namek created the Dragon Balls, which can grant 3 wishes at once. If my bloodline evolves, I wonder if... Russell was overjoyed. Because no matter what, he at least had one wish, to get his hands on the prize. The corners of his mouth turned up. It's becoming increasingly difficult to suppress. Natasha, standing to the side, looked puzzled, completely bewildered as to what Russell was so happy about. This little boy doesn't seem to have any remarkable superpowers. What's there to be happy about? After all, she was the one who went on this mission. Peter Parker was just an ordinary little boy. Its strength and speed are average. It's just that it has a keen sense of danger and can avoid car accidents or falls. But nothing more. It's nowhere near as good as the super soldier serum. Bertrand Russell smiled, but said nothing. What? You're saying Spider-Man is inferior to Captain America? Although Spider-Man looks funny, His opponent is a genuine superhero who is a mutated ordinary person. He has the aura of a friendly, approachable younger brother. The numbers are quite outrageous. Don't be fooled by the fact that Spider-Man couldn't beat Captain America in the Avengers Civil War. That's because Captain America was only 17 years old at the time. Once Spider-Man reaches full development and his peak, his strength will be terrifying, enough to go toe-to-toe with the Hulk. He punched the Green Goblin in the face. The other person, who was originally mentally ill, immediately sobered up. His eyes became clear, and he shouted that I was a good person. Besides strength, the little spider. And it's also incredibly good at pulling. As for how much it can pull out a little bit. It's nothing more than being able to stop a runaway train from going off track and a ship that's been torn in two, weighing only a few hundred tons. I feel that this keen ability is not the limit. If it is developed in another way, it may become even more powerful. What kind of development are you conducting? Something white comes out. Natasha. She took it as a joke from Russell, a young boy, and didn't take it seriously. Russell, however, took a closer look at Spider-Man's blood, because he suddenly remembered that Spider-Man's ability to sense danger was extremely abnormal, practically a form of short-term precognition. Even in his later battles with Doctor Strange. Even if the opponent beats you so badly that your soul leaves your body. The physical body can also rely on instinct to evade the opponent's attacks. What is this? Isn't this ultra instinct? You think I won't recognize you just because your hair doesn't turn white? He kept the little spider's blood in his heart. I plan to get it out and into my own hands after a while. Let's see if Howard can do some research and develop a spider serum. After all, he's an expert in this field and a master at developing a super soldier serum based on Steve's blood. Maybe he can succeed. He was plotting to become famous there. Natasha was performing authentication and retrieving 5 vials of Steve's blood from the blood storage device. A large area is already empty. Clearly, not much is stored. Captain America has been gone for many years, and every drop of his blood is one less available. So Natasha warned, "Be careful, don't talk to anyone on the way, in case there's a mole among us." Okay. Russell was very relaxed. There was not a hint of nervousness. After all, Hydra wasn't as rampant as it would become later. They did many things behind the scenes, mainly by lying in wait, and didn't necessarily come to steal. Even if it really comes. He could only achieve the ultimate level of concealing his identity, killing all his opponents to avoid being exposed. Russell carefully collected Steve's blood, his eyes quickly scanning the entire blood storage room. He seemed particularly concerned because of Spider-Man's serum. There might be something better. Why is this whole area blank? Oh, that place used to store mutant blood, but then a department took it all. Natasha assumed Russell didn't know what mutants were, so she casually explained. They were a group of superhumans who were very active before, but they're probably extinct now. Mutants. A once incredibly powerful superpowered group. It possesses various amazing abilities. Some are even capable of destroying the world. They were feared by humans, but because the number of mutants was too small and they couldn't bring themselves to be ruthless, they were eventually wiped out. Russell knew more than Natasha. After being reminded by her, he instantly recalled the aging wolfman, his pathetic state as he was chased by a few human soldiers, and his tragic death. He sighed immediately. I feel a mixture of pity for their misfortune and anger at their lack of resistance. Even a shameless squid can establish a country and thrive, earning the title of Little Tyrant of the Middle East. Meanwhile, a group of mutants with superpowers who are no less powerful or intelligent have met their demise. How can one not feel a sense of lament? Russell had only asked the question casually. After all, he's not a mutant. But as he turned to leave, a sudden flash of inspiration struck him. My cheat ability, the Namekian template character, is quite kind. Seeing the Hulk, who was mutated simply from gamma rays, is enough to trigger Mission 3. Mutants are a species. They are all mutated superhumans. They are now on the verge of extinction. Will this dangerous situation trigger Mission 4? Russell had studied his own cheat codes for many years and was quite experienced, so his eyes immediately lit up. The reward for Task 3. It just makes the Dragon Balls more powerful. But the reward for Mission 4 is outrageous. It can directly allow the dragon to traverse the universe and summon characters and items from other worlds. For example, it can summon the 12 talismans and directly summon Superman, or a blue fat man falling from the sky. That's incredibly powerful. Russell immediately felt a headache coming on because the thought of saving mutants from extinction and facing Professor X, who suffered from Alzheimer's and was somewhat mentally unstable, made him realize that he had to face the problem. I started to feel a little panicked. His Namekian heritage does indeed grant him a spiritual gift. But the other party is a true natural-born psychology professor. Engage in psychological communication with the other party. Professor X will talk him to death. It's a bit annoying not being able to get meat. 40 gin of vibranium. And 5 tubes of Captain America's blood. Russell also unlocked Mission 3 in SHILD's vault and got a hint of Mission 4, so it felt a bit difficult, but it was better than nothing, and he was in a great mood. He drove to Tony's villa. It was very safe throughout the journey. The other person wasn't home and was still paying the price for his statement, "I am Iron Man." It was definitely enjoyable. But it also involves wrangling with various departments, paying for the losses caused by the fight with Obama, and dealing with subsequent group-related matters. Obadiah's shares need to be bought back. We need to find evidence of the other party's crimes. Many of the other side's men need to be driven away. This is indeed a troublesome matter. Howard was very apologetic, his face showing shame. Obadiah found me. I didn't expect him to be the mole. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. Obadiah was an old friend of his. He was a core member who created the Stark Group. He thought he would be very happy to see his old friend, so he didn't hide his whereabouts. However, he didn't expect that the other party was a mole who stabbed him in the back, causing his resurrection to be exposed to the public. Although Tony promised in front of everyone that he did it. But if Russell is involved, haha, it's all right. After all, it's rare for a superhero to have a father. It's something to celebrate with the world. Marvel plus DC. The superheroes and supervillains from 2 universes combined. They couldn't even muster 3 living fathers. This is a real orphanage. Compared to this, the neighboring orphanages and the one called Modian are utterly pathetic. Chapter 24, Tony's furious outburst. I'm not as good as Howard. Let Shenron create the Tim. Howard couldn't understand Russell's hellish jokes. He breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Russell wasn't angry because he had carelessly revealed the secret of the resurrection. He felt very guilty. After all, the other party went to great lengths to revive him, and he had only ended up causing them trouble. He felt quite embarrassed. But he also achieved results. Jarvis Project would have been making these past few days. Sir, it's being displayed for you. A gentle voice echoed all around. Russell looked around with feigned surprise. Although he had known of Jarvis's existence for a long time, this was the first time he had actually seen him in person. Tony is a pretty smart guy. The artificial intelligence Jarvis that was created basically possessed human intelligence and thinking ability. In addition, it also installed a holographic projection on the other party. Although it wasn't as realistic or perfect as the Mysterio that Spider-Man later encountered, it was still quite impressive in 8. Keep in mind that even during Russell's 25 years, we haven't even tasted this kind of fine bran yet. It will be at least 2035 by then. However, he wasn't worried. Anyway, as long as they waited until 2060, scientists would be able to create a robot, which would be much more useful than Tony's metal suit, a clear technological crushing victory. They could beat Tony so badly he'd question his existence. Russell, hee. Jarvis performed the light and shadow projection as Howard commanded. A dozen or so gorgeous outfits. It was displayed in front of Russell. Both the style and the design were sure to catch his eye. Howard explained, "This is Jarvis, Tony's AI butler. You should know more about him than this old man." Russell nodded. Jarvis greeted him, "Sir, it's a pleasure to serve you. Mr. Howard has shared some permissions with you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and I will answer them for you." Russell naturally did not refuse. After all, anyone who has lived in the age of smart technology knows how important a smart assistant is. You really can't live without a phone, and it's inconvenient to use it wherever you go. Jarvis is there. He doesn't even need to drive himself anymore. It's all automated. Even tasks like heating bath water, flushing the litter box, feeding the cat, changing the channel, finding food, and flushing the toilet don't require you to do them yourself. Just call out to them. A must-have for lazy people. Russell was naturally satisfied. "Thank you." "Oh, right, Jarvis. If you encounter another Tony, please tell him to thank him for his efforts and that he will win." "Jarvis, sir, although I don't understand what you're saying, I'll keep it in mind." "Okay." Let alone the artificial intelligence Jarvis. Even Howard was a little confused. He didn't quite understand, for a moment, what it meant to have encountered another Tony. When Maria was pregnant, did they have twins? Howard opened his mouth, looking at Russell, who was examining the clothes, but ultimately didn't ask. Instead, he began to explain. Tony spent $3,000 million on design fees, having several of the world's best designers design these according to your specifications. See if there are any changes you can make. Cool. Excellent people are naturally excellent. Russell previously had a paltry net worth of only $3,000 million and wore clothes that cost around $10. He had never seen anything so good before. The gilded fabric with patterns made it look mysterious and powerful. The design is also quite reasonable. It can be used for one's daily spiritual practice. It can also be used in combat. It doesn't interfere with my daily life at all, and it has no impact whatsoever. It's incredibly comprehensive. He nodded in satisfaction, marveling at how good this era was, as aesthetics were not as abstract as those so-called aesthetic masters of later years. Howard discussed the details of the clothes with him. Because these are clothes. It's not armor. Vibranium cannot be used entirely. Otherwise, the hardness would be too high. It also needs to be mixed with some gold-titanium alloy, which Tony developed himself. It has excellent ductility and can also absorb energy. Besides clothes, Howard even designed the gravity chamber and drew up the sketches. This shocked Russell, considering that only 4 or 5 days had passed since the other party rescued Tony from the desert. But they completed a project that took 3 or 4 months. This made even his self-proclaimed ruthless boss unable to help, but advised the other party to start taking a break, saying that such a top-notch worker shouldn't be overworked to death. Let Tony do some things. He's always tinkering with Iron Man suits, and he's constantly throwing parties, racing, and holding press conferences. He's really too idle. Tony's almost 40, nearing 50, almost 60, practically 70 and about to be buried, and he's still single and unmarried. Shouldn't you, as his father, give him a little more encouragement? I will not get married or have children. Enjoy it every day. Why would they be willing to work so hard for me, to let me live a good life and buy a new car? Russell then remembered something else and reminded him, oh, right, there's one more thing. Tony is too sharp-tongued and has made a lot of enemies outside, all of them ruthless. If he seeks revenge on Tony later, you'd better stay far away. Reviving Howard won't be easy. Why waste a wish? He knew Tony was incredibly lucky, having survived countless dangerous situations. Howard, however, was extremely nervous and quickly asked, who is it? Compared to Obadiah, who is stronger? There are many, too many to count, maybe dozens. As for their strength, some are evenly matched, while others are 100 times stronger. This is also why Russell was unwilling to show off in public. The reason for exposing oneself. Tony Stark declared himself Iron Man, and then a whole bunch of villains popped up. Ironmonger Obadiah, Whiplash Ivan Vanko, the God of Lies Loki, the Extremis Virus Killian, Ultron, Baron Zemo of Hydra and Doctor. Zola, the Vulture, Thanos who destroyed the universe, and Captain America. These are still the ones that have a name. There are still a lot of small Karami. Russell felt fortunate to be constantly schemed against and chased by a bunch of people. Being a superhero was worse than being a supervillain. He just said it casually. This caused Howard to have a heart attack. Welcome to Marvel. You'll get used to it. Howard, maybe I should just keep dying. He suddenly realized what it meant to be a disgrace to one's father. He took a deep breath. He secretly decided that if he were to resurrect his wife Maria in the future, he would live in anonymity, far away from America and far away from Tony, so that the enemy would not be able to find him, right? Just as the two were chatting, Tony descended from the sky in his bright red Mark III, carrying a silver Mark II in his hand. It was originally very eye-catching and cool, but after being stolen by Obadiah, it was beaten to a pulp, with parts falling off everywhere, requiring rewelding to reconnect them. He threw down his armor. Then stand there. The surrounding robotic arms automatically moved forward to help Tony disassemble his armor. The process looked somewhat cumbersome and took quite a bit of time. But that's already considered very fast. Many improvements are needed before it can be worn like it is in the future, where you can simply insert your hand into the hole to put it on and jump off the plane. Or it could be modified to the size of a suitcase. A person can transform in half a minute by standing on it. Tony couldn't move his body, but his mouth was still scathing. Guess who I saw? A heartless bastard. It's your workday now. Has your chief issued a new assignment and moved the workplace here? I'm here to deliver vibranium, so of course I have a compensation form that you need to sign. That's Tony smashing through the ceiling. The expense report issued by Nick Fury. Tony wasn't stupid. He immediately exploded. What? A ceiling that costs $1 million. Do you think it's made of gold? Your chief is absolutely ruthless. Yes, I agree with you. After all, he's a black man. Tony Stark's lips twitched, but he willingly paid for the lame joke. Russell accepted the $1 million check with a smile, planning to find an outsourcer later. He figured it would only cost about $1. Business was too easy. He had just received the money. Tony then dismissed him, knowing Russell was a secret agent and he didn't trust him at all. Don't even think about copying my USB drive or stealing my technology like in the movies. Iron Man armor is the best creation in the world. Even if you had it, you couldn't build it. The best? Oh, really? I feel like he's not as good as your father, Howard. Tony, just like your Iron Man suit, is still using very outdated pulse technology. If it were your father, he would probably have been using a much more advanced anti-gravity system long ago. Tony. Howard comforted him. That was just something I researched unintentionally before. It's normal that Tony can't do it. Although pulse reverse propulsion consumes a lot of energy, it's already very good. It's normal that he's not as good as me. Tony was furious. Just you wait, in 3 days at most, I'll prove you wrong, you old cod. He actually left. She really went off to study. Russell and Howard exchanged a smile, but Howard's expression quickly darkened, tinged with worry. Tony's condition has worsened. Palladium is corroding his blood. I wanted him to create a new element, but Tony was unwilling to admit that he was inferior to his father Howard, and unwilling to use the other's new elements, stemming from a man's inexplicable sense of pride. I might not have been able to do it before, but now I have a good idea. Do you know the Hulk? A naked man, running naked in the street. Once you find him and solve his problems, I can heal Tony completely. Is it a senzu bean? Russell wore a mysterious smile. He felt he should be bolder. He wants the dragon to create another time stone. Chapter 25. Superpowers unique to the Stark family. I'll pay more. Marvel is not a complete universe, because almost all the powerful beings, the so-called gods, are born that way. There is no systematic path to godhood. Even the Ancient One, the Sorcerer Supreme, currently the strongest being on Earth, borrowed her magical power from the gods of magic in Vishanti. It was not her own power. Later, during the battle between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, the Sorcerer Supreme, having lost his sling ring, was trapped in the mirror dimension he had created. It's like building a cage for yourself. Furthermore, Shenron in the Dragon Ball universe also has his own limitations. No matter how powerful Shenron is, he cannot directly grant the Wisher great power. So after obtaining the Dragon Balls, a long time ago, Russell then pondered how to use the dragon to enhance his power and survive in the chaotic Marvel universe. He thought about it for a long time. Originally, the plan was to improve one's Kai by training the Namekian physique, thereby increasing one's combat power. Later, we found it was too slow. The Namekians are not Saiyans, and besides, it's not easy for a Saiyan to become a Super Saiyan. Even if a Super Saiyan were in the Marvel universe, they might not be able to dominate. So Russell decided to be bolder. I want to create the Infinity Stones. To create my own Infinity Stone. The Infinity Stones are magical creations of the Marvel universe. Master Wang once explained the origin of the Infinity Stones, saying that they were formed when strange forces condensed together at the birth of the universe. It's the work of the gods. However, the power of those gods is definitely no greater than that of the Supreme Kai and the god of destruction from the neighboring universe. After all, the Infinity Stones they created can only be used in their own universe. If placed in other universes, they lose their source of power and become ordinary stones in the Time Bureau's drawer. But the dragon is different. The dragon has the power to revive the entire universe. Nature is above those gods. So, the Infinity Stones created by Shenron could function in the same way even in other universes. Russell was mad at his own ideas. After all, the power of each Infinity Stone is extremely strong. It possesses a variety of powerful and magical effects. The Space Stone possesses the ability to travel through any space and open wormholes, and may even allow free travel between dimensions, which led to the creation of the superhero Captain Marvel. The Mind Stone has the ability to alter the thoughts of others and exert mind control, which also created two superheroes, Scarlet Witch Wanda and Quicksilver. Later, it even gave Vision an intelligent life form, self-awareness, which is quite legendary. The Reality Gem is said to be the right hand of God, capable of arbitrarily disregarding nature and altering reality. The Power Stone is Thanos' favorite and most frequently used stone. It not only greatly enhances the user's power, but is also said to be able to blast planets apart. It can also enhance the user's defense and boost the power of other Infinity Stones. The Soul Stone is the most mysterious of the Infinity Stones, with the most demanding acquisition conditions. It requires the sacrifice of the soul of one's most beloved person. Once obtained, it can forcibly alter the souls of others, causing their personalities to reverse to extremes. It is also the most important core element on the legendary path to godhood. Finally, the best and most powerful one. It is the Eye of Agamotto, hidden in Camotage, also known as the Time Stone. It can reverse time, see the past and the future, and even travel through timelines. When encountering a strong opponent, it can even choose to restart indefinitely, making it a bug among bugs. These gems are scattered like stars in the sky. If they gather together, it is a force capable of destroying the universe. Furthermore, it created a terrifying being in a parallel universe, Ultron, a being with 6 gems, capable of instantly killing observers. Almost all of Marvel's controversies, even Thanos in the future, they're all here for the Infinity Stones. Collecting these gems would be incredibly difficult for them, but Russell was different. He only needed 6 wishes, and the dragon would take care of everything for him. If you were to choose, which gemstone would you choose? Russell would prioritize the Power Stone, the Time Stone, or the Reality Stone, as one of them would be the most suitable to enhance his power and increase his combat strength. As for the Space Stone and the Time Stone, it's that saying, space reigns supreme, time reigns supreme. The best one is still the Time Stone. If we fully master the power of the Time Stone, we might not even need to use Shenron to resurrect others in the future. It only takes a thought. It would allow us to turn back time. As for why I can play with time and time will play with me. Go ahead and talk to my 6 gems at full power. As long as I become stronger fast enough, disasters will not catch up with me. Russell could already imagine the enormous benefits and changes in strength that would come from completing Mission 3 and receiving the rewards. His breathing became a little rapid. Howard was naturally delighted because he had received Russell's promise. If you help me complete this mission, I will choose to resurrect your wife, Maria. The matter of the Infinity Stones is far too important. So much so that Russell directly offered huge sums of money. Howard immediately became serious. He absolutely could not allow himself to fail. Jarvis, you are now authorized to enter overdrive mode. Help me gather all information related to the Hulk and organize it in order. I want to find his whereabouts. Howard realized that Russell valued the Hulk. He had no idea what the other party was. Sir, your request is very simple. Jarvis's answer was very relaxed. After all, as a groundbreaking artificial intelligence, his existence would be a game changer even in the future, let alone in 8. Soon, he collected various fragmented information, top secret files, and videos from the internet, presenting Howard with the complete backstory of the Hulk. The Hulk's real name is Bruce Banner, a world-renowned nuclear physicist, one of the best researchers at Culver University, who was in charge of a secret military research project, was transformed into a giant monster in an accident during an experiment. Still on the run. Cannot find specific location. Howard flipped through various videos recording the Hulk's appearances and was immediately shocked by the Hulk's enormous body and immense strength. His face was filled with disbelief. Oh my God, what a perfect body. This terrifying strength, I'm afraid only Steve Rogers could rival him back then. He was also a super soldier. However, he was old, and the serum he received was not the original super soldier serum, but rather a diluted version of Steve's blood. In comparison, naturally, they were far outclassed by the Hulk. Howard quickly discovered that the project had been classified as a failure, and the reasons for the failure were particularly obvious. Irrational, extremely angry, aggressive, and unable to communicate normally. Howard felt a little regretful. After reviewing the material several times and watching the videos again, he frowned slightly, feeling a sense of déjà vu, as if he had seen them somewhere before. These things. These experimental data, aren't they all mine? Howard looked completely bewildered. He doesn't remember ever studying this thing. It's Nick Fury. Russell knew more, and he explained to Howard, although you died, the data left in the lab proved that you succeeded, so it was preserved and eventually fell into Nick Fury's hands. The military is the force that most wants super soldiers to appear. They have been researching and are eager to recreate Captain America. The two sides hit it off immediately. That's why this experiment was conducted. The unexpected result created the Hulk. The blood source of the super soldiers in General Ross's possession is Nick Fury. They succeeded. They created super soldiers who were more powerful than Captain America and even easier to replicate. Later, Hulk derivatives such as She-Hulk, Red Hulk, Abomination, and Dr. Blue appeared. But it can still be considered a failure. After all, the power was too great, and it was really impossible to control it. It was too easy for it to go berserk. What the higher-ups need is a Superman they can control, not a Homelander who doesn't eat beef. Howard suddenly realized, and then had a sudden realization. I have a way to find the Hulk who escaped. I know Nick Fury. He would never let the Hulk escape. He'll definitely recruit him. He must have tracked down the Hulk. Russell could only hope for the best. After all, Banner had the Hulk, making him incredibly fast. The other party tried all sorts of methods to get rid of the monster inside him, but Hulk was just too terrifying and had too tenacious vitality. This led to Banner's eventual breakdown. He chose to travel to the Arctic and commit suicide by shooting himself. But the result? Banner also made fun of himself in front of the Avengers, saying that Hulk was like a monster. He shot bullets into his own head, but Hulk spat them out and even went berserk in frustration, destroying countless icebergs. He probably didn't expect it himself. It was Hulk's rampage that caused this incident. This exposed Captain America, who had been hidden in the iceberg for nearly 70 years. It's truly a cruel joke of fate. Nick Fury is a cunning old fox who's hard to talk to. He's not going to spit out what's in his mouth. Fine. Howard smiled confidently. The Stark family has a natural superpower, which is... I'll pay more. Chapter 26. Miss Betty, you don't want your boyfriend Banner to lose his life, do you? Howard is incredibly motivated. After all, Russell's offer to him was simply too big. He desperately wanted to bring his wife back to life. Although the Hulk looks very intimidating, easily slaughtering military squads in the video, and even stomping on various tanks like they're made of plastic. It can be described as a violent monster. But there is good news. The enemy is not invincible. Their weapons are still effective. Missiles can injure them, and bullets can hurt them. Moreover, the Hulk is not always in a transformed state. They will eventually return to human form. It will be a prolonged period of anger. But it will also get tired and will eat. Howard knew he wasn't entirely confident in his ability to succeed on his own, but he had an extremely reliable ally, Nick Fury, who led the massive SHIELD intelligence agency. Without saying a word, he did. The blood of Steve that Russell brought was analyzed. The fusion created the super soldier serum. This was already second nature to him. Of the 5 vials of blood, 4 were successful except for one that became disordered, enough to create 4 super soldiers. This success rate, it's quite good. When Nick Fury received the call, he couldn't hide his joy. No one was more terrified than him. After all, he seemed to be living a glamorous life as the director of SHIELD, but his subordinates were all Hydra spies, all traitors. Who knows, one day he might be shot 3 times and fall from a high-rise building to commit suicide. Now we have super soldiers. His confidence soared. This was the key to defeating Hydra. I'll be there soon. Nick had already chosen the members for the super soldier squad. They led everyone to Tony's villa. The serum injection is being performed. Howard, I never thought I'd see you again. Peggy, you're getting old. The reunion of 2 old friends who had fought side by side on the battlefield was an indescribable experience. Their eyes were filled with tears as they embraced tightly. Howard was an arrogant genius. After all, like father, like son. He rarely submitted to anyone in his life, and Peggy was one of them. The other party did not comfortably enjoy the honor while basking in the glory of being Captain America's girlfriend. Instead, they rejected it. With her intelligence and ability, she achieved one feat after another, breaking the world's prejudice against women, becoming the director of SHIELD, and repeatedly defeating Hydra, even destroying its base and annihilating its supreme leader. He was received by the president. He was offered the highest medal of honor, but chose to refuse. The other person's life. His life can be described as a legendary life, like something out of a novel. You're getting old. Let the world be left to the younger generation. Why work so hard? Howard was well aware of the dangers of the battlefield. The other person is over 80 years old. She should be enjoying her retirement. There's no need to go back to the dangerous situation of dealing with Hydra. Hydra is something we left behind, so it's our generation's responsibility to eliminate it and leave the work to the next generation. They'll get tired of it. Although Peggy was old, her expression remained resolute. At least for me, the serum injection means I can live longer, giving me a better chance of seeing him, doesn't it? He is Captain America, who broke his promise 70 years ago. There was a stunningly beautiful woman, whose beauty amazed the world, waiting for him to dance. He failed to show up. Howard sighed silently, but did not voice any objection. He chose to support the idea. Hawkeye, Coulson, Melinda, and Peggy entered the enhancement machine one by one in order. Because the arc reactor was powered here, their enhancement speed would be faster, and they would become stronger. Nick Fury could only stand outside. He looked at the 4 sleeping people with envy in his eyes, but also shrugged helplessly. Heh, I knew God wouldn't favor black people. Looks like I'm out of luck this time. 4 out of 5 blood samples were successfully collected. He was just the one I was missing. Howard then raised his hand and had Jarvis play the Hulk video, which was then shown to Nick. Listen to the Hulk's roar. There were also various sounds of gunfire. Nick's expression shifted slightly, showing some surprise. He recognized the Hulk in the video, but remained silent. He pretended not to know. Little did he know that his past had already been thoroughly exposed. Howard said bluntly, "This is the super soldier serum research project you participated in." To put it bluntly, it was a complete failure. It created a monster. What a pity for Dr. Banner. He was an excellent physicist, a true genius. Can you tell me his whereabouts? Nick Fury paused for a moment. Then, in a less friendly tone, he yelled, "You and your son are both such scoundrels. What do you take the National Strategic Defense Offensive and Resource Security Bureau for? A prostitute in a red light district, someone you can come and go as you please." He was extremely frustrated. After all, he knew Howard's background. Howard had only been resurrected for a short time, so he shouldn't have known about this, since it was a secret. The other party knew it so clearly. There is only one answer. Like his son Tony, the other party hacked into SHILD's network, specifically the most secure network ever built by his top team at great expense, a network that was said to be capable of being breached by no more than 3 people in the world. Who told you not to give birth to an outstanding son? OMG fuck. Nick could only sulk in silence, and he secretly resolved that when he returned, he would find a hacker even more skilled than Tony, so that he could hack into the other party's intelligent butler Jarvis and manipulate Tony into performing a pole striptease in public. He paused for a moment. Just as Howard had predicted, he had been tracking the Hulk's movements. The Hulk has fled to the North Pole. This is an unexpected location. Russell was also somewhat surprised. If the other party was in Brazil, it would be at a soda factory, but if it was in the Arctic, that would be interesting. Howard was somewhat saddened. After all, the Arctic was a place of heartbreak for him. He had spent more than a decade and consumed enormous human and material resources to go there many times to salvage Captain America, but each time he returned empty-handed. Everyone remained silent. Nick Fury also learned Howard's intentions. The guy actually wanted to capture the Hulk and save him. As the king of spies, he subconsciously expressed doubt and disbelief. But Howard gave too much. The other party added too much money. The Hulk is a product of super soldiers, and I have considerable experience in this area, even having created a relatively perfect soldier serum. If we can find him, maybe I can develop an antidote to cure him. I can also use his blood to create a serum even more powerful than the super soldier serum, the Super Hulk serum. Don't you want it? Nick Fury was naturally tempted. After all, Captain America doesn't have much blood left. Being able to assemble a super squad is already the limit. If Howard could create a Super Hulk serum, even if it only reached half the Hulk's physique, it would still be an incredibly powerful creation. If it were someone else, Nick might hesitate for a moment, but the other party is the Stark father and son who have created miracles. What cards do you have up your sleeve? All of Stark's advanced weaponry and 5 Captain Americas, including Steve's shield made of vibranium. That's not enough. Give me 3 more days, and I'll prepare a trump card to deal with Dr. Banner. In just a few words. The two then tacitly agreed to join forces once again. Capturing the Hulk in the Arctic is no easy task. It's a vast, desolate place that requires a long-term supply of energy, including food, fuel, and water. It also requires long-endurance fighter jets for a thorough search, large doses of anesthetic, and sufficiently thick chains. SHIELD is under Nick Fury's control. It is constantly running. They were in a state of tension. This quickly attracted the attention of a Hydra agent who was a mole within SHILD. They are like hibernating snakes. They were all awakened. On the other side, following Nick Fury's directions, Natasha arrived before a mysterious woman and ordered her a drink. Ms. Betty, you wouldn't want to see your boyfriend, Banner, lose his life, would you? Betty, what you're saying, is it true? Chapter 27. Betty, what, Howard? You're still alive. She is far from her boyfriend, Banner, who turns into a monster in an experimental accident. 2 years have passed. This was the first time Betty had heard about the other party. Looking at the photos and videos that Natasha had brought, which were secretly taken by SHIELD, she could hardly believe her eyes for a moment. Because, Doctor, Banner is hiding inside. They were dressed in very tattered clothes. He was so destitute, he looked like a wild man. They're no different from homeless people. Betty covered her face with her hands and cried uncontrollably, feeling extremely distressed. Oh my God. She couldn't imagine it. After all, Doctor, Banner was a remarkable figure in the field of science and technology, a top scholar in nuclear physics, and was known as the wise brain. It's unbelievable that he would end up like this. Betty was distressed, and he quickly asked Natasha, "What do you want me to do?" "I'll do anything to save him. We plan to rescue Dr. Bruce Banner. You may need to go up and persuade him to reduce his hostility. Of course, there may be some life-threatening risks involved in this process." Natasha explained her purpose. This was Nick Fury's doing. When the other party watched the entire process of Banner's experiment going wrong, they discovered that even after Banner turned into the Hulk, he still retained some rationality and did not kill anyone directly, nor did he cause any harm to his girlfriend Betty. Therefore, he felt he could take advantage of it. So Natasha came. She originally intended to let Betty think it over carefully, since Banner was just her boyfriend, not her legal husband. Even among married couples, many will abandon each other when disaster strikes, and Natasha has encountered countless such cases throughout her career. But Betty was brave. Without hesitation, she agreed, packed her things, and left with Natasha. They arrived at SHILD. Everyone is ready. Barton, you're in charge of remote assistance. Carlson, Natasha, Melinda, the 3 of you are responsible for close-quarters combat and suppressing fire. Howard, technical advisor, don't get too close to the battlefield. Russell, you'll be in charge of recording, tracking, and analyzing their movements, ensuring the evacuation, and remembering to protect this lady. Nick Fury assigned tasks to everyone, but Peggy had an even more difficult task. That is to help me review the surveillance videos and movements of the agents in the department, and if necessary, save my life. Peggy and Howard are not suited for the battlefield, but their abilities in their respective fields are impeccable. Nick Fury was well aware that his mobilization of so many resources had attracted the attention of a mole within the department, and this was part of his plan. As the saying goes, a mouse doesn't leave its hole. How can a cat be caught? The group then set off as planned. The whole journey was rather dull, and I felt somewhat nervous. Doctor, Banner is not scary. What's terrifying is that the other party can turn into the Hulk. That's a terrifying monster, capable of throwing tanks weighing tens of tons into the air and crushing those steel behemoths. The most severe father of carbon-based life forms, also known as the 7.62 bullet, is like a clown in front of his opponent and is not very useful at all. Therefore, they must be prepared for close-quarters combat at any time, which involves fists thicker than pot lids. Just thinking about it is terrifying. Therefore, Russell was very relaxed. After all, no one would have guessed that he, who had a poor record as a secret agent, was actually a super ace, agent even more formidable than the Hulk. However, Russell also had concerns. Based on his understanding of cheat codes, missions were generally not easy to complete, like the Namekian's second mission, which was to rescue others. It's not as simple as just giving them some food. I also need to help with the work. It's about empowering the other person to be independent. Mission 3 requires Banner to resolve his own issues and gain the approval of the others. However, the question of resolving his own issues is debatable. Should Banner accept the Hulk or eliminate him? If it's the former, that's fine, but if it's the latter, then that's a big problem. If only Professor X hadn't gotten Alzheimer's, he would have been the best at handling this kind of thing. He could have just sealed Hulk's personality off. We need to show him this Hulk, who's even more ferocious than the X-Men. Shouldn't you be beaming with joy? Russell felt a pang of regret. The atmosphere on the fighter jet was tense. Howard broke the ice, seemingly with a family secret, and after just a short chat, Betty relaxed, even exclaiming in surprise, "Oh my goodness. Sir, your knowledge is truly profound." Betty was utterly shocked. As the saying goes, for undergraduate students, if they don't answer or defend their thesis, they'll apologize profusely. Master's thesis defense. Only answer questions, no defense, and occasional apologies. Doctoral dissertation defense. No answer, just defense, no apology. Every scientist has their own area of expertise and is quite confident in themselves. Even the most skilled and advanced experts are not proficient in all fields. But Betty found that no matter what she said, Howard could answer it easily, completely overwhelming her. It can be described as extremely comprehensive. How is that possible? She was shocked. But that's exactly how it looks. This made everyone inside the fighter jet burst into laughter. This is Howard Stark, the founder of Hostak Industries, the genius father of that playboy. You should have seen this in your textbooks before. Betty, you're still alive. Although some time ago. Tony announced his father's resurrection at a press conference, and this explosive news caused a sensation in the United States. But it belongs to the Eights, after all. The news didn't spread that widely. Betty was busy with her own life and didn't pay much attention to the trending news. She was utterly shocked to see that the person who died in the textbook was still alive and even looked like a middle-aged man. Her shock was like that of an ordinary person seeing Newton crawl out of his coffin. It's incredible. Howard smiled slightly, then looked at Russell. How long will it take us to find Doctor Banner in the Arctic? The Arctic has extremely cold weather. It also experiences polar day and polar night. The weather is even more terrifying than the apocalyptic weather of a certain eggplant, with temperatures constantly below zero, yet there are still traces of human and biological activity. Add to that the pristine white snow, and the landscape stretches out in a vast expanse of white. It's especially harmful to the eyes. This makes searching even more difficult. If things go quickly, it will take about 20 to 30 days. If it's slow, it might take 6 months or a year. This is a massive undertaking. Russell was speaking of normal circumstances, but Howard knew perfectly well that Russell possessed amazing abilities, having previously located the kidnapped Tony precisely among numerous terrorists in the vast desert. What were the conditions back then? The one with the weakest kidneys. Surely modern technology can do that too. What are the conditions? Howard thought of the Hulk's enormous underwear and subconsciously thought of the other man's strength. The conditions are very unique. Pick the biggest one. Chapter 28 The Hulk with Power-Ups Hydra. Ha, Captain America. To find a person in the vast Arctic, unless God grants them protection. It's been so long since anyone called me that. Russell closed his eyes. The Namekians' superhuman senses are even more advanced than radar. They were searching precisely and meticulously for all the areas the fighter jets had flown over. There are many strong people here. They were all native Arctic inhabitants, giant polar bears, bigger than the angry Hulk. Their combat power is also quite high. It's at least 10 o'clock. After the fighter jets had been cruising in the Arctic for half an hour, Russell located Banner, but it was not good news. Russell shrugged. Hey guys, looks like you didn't step in dog poop on your way out. You're in big trouble. The crowd was somewhat puzzled. I understood it quickly. Just because they were on the plane, they saw a huge commotion in the distance. It was the snow-capped mountains collapsing, and terrifying snow waves swept around like 1,000 horses. Fortunately, it was in a deserted place. Otherwise, who knows how many lives it would devour. This is one of nature's most terrifying natural disasters, snowstorms. Alongside them are earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, hurricanes, and floods, each a catastrophe that makes humanity tremble, a disaster as insignificant as an ant. And what caused this natural disaster was, it was just one person. The Hulk leaped from the snowdrift, stomped on the icy ground, and roared at the sky with a voice like thunder. Target found, target found. It really is him. He's very angry right now. Could we have encountered the enemy? Everyone craned their necks to look. Russell, however, knew what had happened. They arrived at just the right time, just as Bruce Banner was about to commit suicide by shooting himself, wanting to die with the monster Hulk inside him. As a result, the Hulk inside him sensed the danger and felt Banner's murderous intent. He was so aggrieved and furious that he spat out bullets and vented his anger around him. This is also the reason, he said, he was unlucky. An angry Hulk is a bug. Like the angry Saiyan next door, they are beings whose strength multiplies dramatically at the slightest provocation, and who have never turned off their cheat codes. Communication is completely impossible. Get your weapons ready. Patton, remember to provide us with support and vision at any time. Although it looks a bit difficult. But they also knew that the opportunity was too good to miss. If the other party ran away, they would have to search for a long time in this freezing cold, which would be even more frustrating. Coulson acted decisively, issuing orders for Hawkeye to provide assistance from the fighter jets. This would not only provide archery support, but also offer superior visibility, allowing Hawkeye to direct their movements via headset and provide more composed command. Go, go, go. Natasha, Coulson, and Melinda all fell from the sky, weapons in hand. They were holding the same Captain America-style shields that they had been building in the past few days. There are also sharp, vibranium weapons. Reviving Howard is great. Not only do we have super soldiers, but we even got a unique vibranium shield. This is also where their confidence lies. After all, the Hulk is all about brute force, while their vibranium shields are made of sound-absorbing steel, which can absorb the impact and kinetic energy of the force, thus making up for the huge gap. Natasha had initially wanted to try communicating with the Hulk, but upon seeing his crimson eyes and the massive fist hurtling towards her, she abandoned the idea. Oh, this is a terrible job. The two sides immediately engaged in combat. Hawkeye kept drawing his bow to provide assistance. Howard's heart was in his throat. Even Russell became nervous. The three of them ganged up on the Hulk. Their teamwork was excellent, which is a testament to the outstanding qualities of special agents. Working together, they put the Hulk at a disadvantage and completely neutralized him. Hulk was incredibly frustrated. His fists couldn't penetrate the opponent's shield, and he was instead stabbed by the opponent's vibranium spear, which was very agile and would occasionally pull back to deliver a shot. From a high vantage point, there were also eagle eyes launching sneak attacks with hidden arrows. Fast and accurate. Moreover, it is extremely well hidden. The green, fat man was not originally able to speak. After all, he was relatively new to life. But now he was so angry that he started to speak human language. You're despicable. Hulk. Angry. As the Hulk roared, he stood there pounding his chest. The three initially thought he was giving up, but to their astonishment, they saw that the giant's body had grown even larger. There were even bulges on his shoulders. It looked like something was about to grow out. The body felt even more imposing. What? Howard on the plane was shocked. His sunglasses even fell off. Dude, is this still the super soldier serum? How come it's so different from what I researched? The force of those hundreds of tons was already terrifying. There is now a second form. Can it still surge? Is that right? He witnessed the Hulk crushing the three super soldiers, his fist slamming into their shields with such terrifying force that Melinda, who was hiding behind them, was knocked back. A terrifying scene unfolded. The green, fat man's mouth twisted into a snarl as he gripped his shield tightly. He suddenly leaped high into the air and kicked Melinda hard with both legs. This sent the opponent flying backwards. They glided for hundreds of meters on the smooth ice, nearly falling into an ice hole. Coulson and Natasha thrust their vibranium spears at the target, which could have caused injury, but instead they got stuck in the muscle. It's not possible to insert it into the internal organs yet. They saw that the opponent's wounds were healing, and the vibranium spear was forced out. Coulson, Natasha. Dude, that's going too far. Hulk. Awesome. With a smug look on his face, the Hulk punched Coulson and Natasha, flying with a left and a right punch. Howard, watching the game, felt a chill run down his spine and immediately thought to himself that it was all over. This was the most elite special agent team he could assemble. As a result, they were easily defeated. How can we fight like this? The last card was used. Betty screamed, her voice trembling as she called Banner's name through the snow and ice, hoping to bring him back to his senses. As a result, the Hulk seemed to be thinking about something, wiped his nose with his hand, and made a disdainful gesture. Banner's girl. Excuse me. It's Hulk time. The Hulk lunged at the three fallen men, who were now at a significant disadvantage and struggling to cope. Defeat is imminent. This could very likely lead to death. Russell sighed inwardly, then silently put on the Mark II arm he had swiped from Tony's lab. The palm cannon in the palm of the hand lit up. Before anyone could react, he fired a Kai blast at the Hulk. This thing works really well. When the strong deal with the weak, they absolutely crush them. When the weak face the strong, they are left unharmed despite the smoke. The Hulk is clearly not a strongman. Although he keenly sensed the Kai blast and instinctively put his hands in front of him to block it, the violent explosion still blasted him away. He did not die. His whole body was in excruciating pain from the explosion. Upon seeing Russell still raising his hand, he was immediately filled with terror, covered his head with his hands, and curled up, reverting to Banner's appearance. Hulk was scared. Hulk ran away. Howard and Hawkeye turned around in shock. Russell shrugged and praised the palm cannon in his hand. Stark product, indeed a masterpiece. This palm cannon is simply amazing. If you cheat, I'll cheat too. That makes perfect sense, right? He only added a tiny bit of gas. Howard, thanks for bragging to Tony. Howard did not refute it and tacitly attributed the incident to Tony's efforts. Together, they took the unconscious doctor, Banner, back to the plane and took him away from the scene. Several hours later, a group of mysterious people found this place. Using various instruments to conduct reconnaissance, they could sense the intensity of the battle by looking at the chaotic and broken battlefield and the various fragments of weapons and shell casings lying on the ground. They gasped. Soon. Then someone made a phone call. Hey, ma'am, guess what I found inside the collapsed iceberg? A shield. A frozen popsicle. I've found Captain America. Clear. Long live Hydra. Chapter 29, Alien War. Iron Man armor. Shocked Banner. Is this still Earth? Cold, shivering. My body hurts so much. Bruce Banner was a little confused. He felt as if he had been severely beaten, his whole body aching and uncomfortable, and to make matters worse, he was unbearably hungry. A strong sense of dread washed over me. It was like having a nightmare. It instantly jolted him awake from his drowsiness. Huff, huff, huff. After panting heavily, Banner gradually felt better. He looked around and found that there were white walls and various medical instruments all around him. It has the feel of a high-end luxury hospital. This confused him even more. After all, he was clearly wandering and fleeing everywhere, and he chose to go to the desolate Arctic to commit suicide. How could he have ended up in this place? Didn't the gun fire? He was confused. The gun went off, the bullet was just ejected, and after a while, you'll remember it again. Russell came in, carrying some food. This is his home. It was also the secret base he built. After selling his Stark Industries stock, Russell's net worth skyrocketed, allowing him to buy up all the surrounding houses as compensation for his neighbor's property demolition. It was directly modified. They went to the Arctic, knocked Banner unconscious, who had turned into the Hulk, and brought him back, but did not take him directly to SHILD. After all, there are too many undercover agents there. Not safe. Tony is currently only interested in the armor and is a complete novice when it comes to serum research, so he brought the other party here. Banner looked at the unfamiliar Russell. He was clearly hesitant. After hesitating for a moment, he took the food from the other person's hand. The hunger burned in his stomach, and he immediately wolfed it down to replenish his energy. My name is Russell. Level 5 agent of the Strategic Defense, Offense, and Logistics Agency. I believe you should be familiar with this department. After all, we were one of the collaborators on your previous experiments, but we never expected this unexpected incident to occur. Bruce Banner looked somewhat bitter, and his swallowing paused slightly because he had been hiding everywhere, trying not to be discovered by SHIELD and the military. The result was completely unexpected. It still fell into the hands of the other party. He glanced at his arm instinctively. There were probably quite a few needles there. The other person must have drawn a lot of blood while he was unconscious, but he couldn't see it anymore. He is no longer a normal human being. The wound has healed. Banner immediately warned, "Don't covet the Hulk's power. That was a failed experiment. It shouldn't even exist. Having one is bad enough. If there were more, it would cause a huge catastrophe." That's the truth. Project Hulk is derived from the super soldier serum. They share some commonalities, namely that the injection of serum will have a certain impact on personality, although it doesn't mean that bad things will become worse or good things will become better. But hatred and the birth of Dr. Blue. This proves one point. Even a scientist with an excellent personality like Bruce Banner can frequently become angry and have a strong destructive urge towards those around him. This does not prove that it is a failure. After all, both General Ross and Abomination later reformed, especially the appearance of She-Hulk. They were even treated like superheroes. This proves that this force-influencing personality can be controlled. Russell laughed as he looked at Banner, who had a serious expression. After all, Banner was extremely wary of Hulk and had even tried to get rid of him. If Banner knew that his efforts were in vain, he would be overthinking things. Wouldn't it be embarrassing to just pick your toes on the spot? I'm just an ordinary, incompetent agent. I don't know anything about this. However, I think someone else can answer your question. He's a much more powerful authority than you. Banner is a genius scientist, far superior to Betty, and his expertise spans multiple fields, so he's somewhat resentful. But when Howard appeared, his eyes nearly popped out of his head, and he stammered, "Why you?" Banner's heart was racing. This was all because they were scared. Just because he attended Howard's funeral with his advisor when he was still a student and witnessed his death firsthand, the result was, "You're alive again." Ghosts. Demons. As Banner stood bewildered in the wind, he saw Howard laughing heartily, jokingly remarking, "As a former genius, it makes perfect sense for me to create and leave behind a cloned body, waiting to be resurrected after death, doesn't it? It shouldn't be too difficult." Banner 6. Banner, a scientist who considers himself a genius. It was only then that I realized it. The gap between myself and those tech geniuses was so vast. Both of them were scientific geniuses, an authority in the scientific community. They had particularly strong research capabilities in the field of human serum, and their conversation was very pleasant. Howard encouraged him. "I know about your birth and what you've been through. The Hulk within you is the best power God has given you to protect the country and its people. You are an incredible miracle. Sir, he is a monster, an uncontrollable monster. If he gets out of control, it will be a terrifying thing. You should learn to accept it, choose to communicate with it, and understand it. This is absolutely absurd." Banner was clearly struggling to accept that he had a monster inside him, because that would mean he's not a normal person. He cannot have a lover. He cannot have his own wife and family. It gets bigger when you get excited. Howard paused for a moment, feeling somewhat embarrassed. He secretly glanced at Russell, and after seeing the other's signal, he clapped his hands. "All right then, Doctor. Banner, it seems the secrets of Earth cannot be kept. Next to this medical room, there are even larger rooms. There are also various mysterious devices." Howard led Banner on a tour, and the first thing that caught their eye was the enormous device. This is a gravity controller. It's powered by the arc reactor and can increase gravity locally. It can maintain up to 100 times the normal gravity for a full month, and it can even be increased to 500 times. Banner was utterly shocked. Localized changes in gravity. It can even increase by 100-fold. Is this something that human technology has already achieved? He remembered that he had only been wandering for 2 years, not 20, but 200. In fact, not only him, but even Russell did not expect that Tony would become a gravimeter in just a few days and arrogantly taunt Howard, directly improving the other party's blueprints. They even brought out the actual finished product. It's no wonder it possesses the intelligence stone in its brain. Luckily, this is the Marvel universe. If it were in another universe, what would they be doing with the Sorcerer Supreme Armor, AI Iron Man, Dark Iron Man, Zombie Iron Man, Iron God, and so on. Thanos would probably be cursing. Thanos, I'm going to sue. I'm going to take it to the living tribunal. Besides, the gravity training room. Tony's Iron Man suit is also here. Small arc reactor. In addition to top-secret footage of the Kree invasion of Earth, there's also a video of Captain Marvel stubbornly crashing into a spaceship. Bruce was dumbfounded. I just felt completely disoriented in the wind. Aliens, Iron Man suits, arc reactors, ramming their heads into spaceships. Where did all this come from? Is this still Earth? He suddenly realized that the monster inside him wasn't so scary after all. Banner then saw something else, a combat strength assessment instrument that could measure combat power. Since there was no aura present, it assessed the numerical value of strength. Howard casually threw a punch. Thump. Your punching power is 4,705 kg. Banner also gave it a try, a full-force attack, but it only showed a pitiful 36 kg reading, making him give an embarrassed smile. Working overtime is too tiring. It's too cold. I'm still not full. Just as Banner was awkwardly laughing, Howard made an assessment. The Hulk inside you is much more terrifying than mine. He might break the current record. Best record. It was Russell, who's right next to you, who created it. Banner turned his head, looking at the smiling Russell and his thin frame, completely bewildered. He clearly remembered the other man, saying that he was an unqualified, ordinary, and unremarkable agent. What are your stats? 530,000. Banner. Are you even human? P.S. 2 extra chapters are coming soon. The excitement is about to begin. Chapter 30, Dragon Ball Minions. Call me Superman. Nick Fury's defense broken. 530,000. Banner was stunned by Russell's terrifying number. That's absolutely outrageous. He currently has no memory of when Hulk awakens. Often, the moment he opens and closes his eyes, the environment has drastically changed, with severed limbs and blood everywhere. Banner couldn't even see what the Hulk looked like, let alone experience the Hulk's extremely violent power. This is also why he has been unable to accept the other person and has regarded them as a monster. It is this sense of panic about losing control of his physical body. The other party was the one who made the mistake. But I'm the one who has to take the blame. This feeling of frustration is like a brother dating a cute girl online, enjoying her sweet voice and repeated calls of good brother, and savoring the sweet romance. When you meet her in person, you discover she's a 300-pound fat woman who then sells her body to you, making you watch helplessly as she plays with your precious bones. He ruthlessly ravaged himself. That's how utterly hopeless life feels. That's incredible. Faced with Banner's astonishment, Russell smiled without saying a word, knowing that the combat power assessment device only evaluated the power that his physical body could unleash under the enhancement of Kai. There is no way to assess the destructive power of the venting. It was a violent and powerful energy. It is far more powerful than brute force. After acquiring the Namekian physique, he has been training diligently. Although he has not yet trained in the gravity chamber, the energy within his body has greatly improved compared to when he first obtained it. Because there are no combat-ready glasses, the comparison can only be made based on the Kai of ordinary people. It's around 1,200 points. In the Dragon Ball universe, this character would be a nobody, not even a soldier. But in other universes, what would you call me? Call me a celestial being. Call me Superman. It's important to understand that each warrior with a combat strength of over 1,000 is essentially capable of directly destroying a planetary civilization. This was discovered by Saiyans through experimentation with their fists. Therefore, Russell is much stronger than the Hulk, even more powerful and terrifying than Banner. How did you do that? Sweat and effort, plus a little bit of opportunity. Can I do that? You need to eat more, exercise more, breathe less, and stay up less at night. And then, that way you'll dream more, and you'll have all sorts of things in your dreams. Russell is a petty person. He has a good personality because he is kind. He helped Howard, Tony, and Banner because he saw them as his future teammates and subordinates who would help him deal with potential enemies. But Russell knew even better that even the best subordinates could defect, and even the best friends could break off their friendship. Like the Kai in the Dragon Ball universe. It is a cultivation system that can reach the level of a god. It's definitely not something that can be shared casually. As the saying goes, the secrets of the law should not be passed on to 6 ears. If this method of practice were to be passed on, it might cause enormous trouble. Russell couldn't imagine the despair in his eyes when Thanos descended upon Earth with millions of combat points. He looked at Banner, whose eyes were filled with resentment. He immediately comforted her, saying, "Actually, you're already very amazing. Many people want to be like you, to become big and strong, but unfortunately, they only achieved half of it. Will it get bigger or stronger? No, I want to become as green as you." After a brief exchange, Russell then gave Banner some advice, genuinely wanting to help him resolve his problems. The power within you is different from others. It possesses its own intelligence, but it is not independent. It is dependent on you. It is not a monster, but it's your own brother. You have to treat it like a newborn, patiently and carefully teaching it, understanding its grievances and anger, and listening to what it really wants to say. You can do some light activities, like watching cartoons or playing games. Finally, it's important to maintain a calm mindset. Russell was very patient with Banner because it concerned his Namekian template third reward, and he kept encouraging him. Banner was filled with apprehension. They remained as cautious as ever. I was afraid that if I got emotional, Hulk would come out and wreak havoc. But he didn't know why. It seemed that Russell's method really worked, or perhaps Hulk was afraid of something, because he really didn't come out. Banner was thrilled. Yes, at least I'll have some strength left when I go to the toilet. Does anyone not understand the pain of not being able to exert force when squatting on the toilet? It's so hopeless. Banner listened quietly to Russell's instructions. Howard was still busy, trying to reconnect with the people he had made when he was alive. After Tony revealed his resurrection, many old friends took the initiative to come to him. Those were all former Stark family associates. More than a decade has passed. Some have already risen through the ranks, their power and status becoming extremely exaggerated. Stark is transitioning from a military-industrial complex to the energy sector and needs their support. So Howard was very busy, but it was precisely because of these people's help that he easily helped the fugitive doctor. Banner to clear his name and lift the official warrant for his arrest. I heard that General Ross was so angry that he smashed several bottles of red wine. But there was nothing we could do. Several days later, Howard arrived with the clothes designed by the designer, all of which were for Russell to use for training and combat. He also humbly consulted Tony and installed a small, smart home assistant, responsible for receiving phone calls and messages. One-click payment is also available. It can quickly search for information about the other party online and perform real-time language translation. This smart home assistant is independent. You can rename it, and it has built-in anti-gravity technology that allows it to float. Russell listened to these useful little features and nodded in satisfaction. Then let's call it Siri. Hey Siri, activate airplane mode. As if imbued with life, those clothes stood up and floated in midair, easily donning themselves onto Russell. The combat suit also has a foldable mask. Simply pull it down to hide your face. There are also various smart icons in front of you, just like VR projection, with various smart operation keys, giving you a feeling of returning to the technological era. I feel like I need everything. Meanwhile, Russell was trying out new things. On the other side, SHIELD. Headquarters. Nick Fury, however, looked grave, because the entire super team had suffered considerable injuries during their mission to capture the Hulk in the Arctic. But he didn't care. These injuries are not fatal and will heal with rest. Nick was so serious because he had Peggy oversee the headquarters and help him identify several agents who had shown unusual activity during this period. The list actually included several hundred names. Exclude those who are paid to slack off or be lazy. Everything else is questionable. While investigating these agents, Nick Fury discovered something incredible. These agents were actually quite familiar with him. To be precise, they belonged to the same faction. These are all agents who support me. Peggy realized it too and couldn't help but tease. Wow. So you, the director, are the real Hydra agent. Nick Fury realized something. He thought of something unbelievable. No joke, our former director Pierce could really be a Hydra mole. Peggy, the bureau chief, is someone else's mole. Are you sure? I'm sure. Nick produced irrefutable evidence. When I was competing for the position of director in the department, there were several people who were more capable and smarter than me, but he voted for me, so I became the director. His face darkened at the thought. I originally thought it was because the other party appreciated me and had a discerning eye for talent. He was grateful for this and often remained loyal to the other party. Looking back now, isn't that just because they think he's stupid? A suitable successor. A foolish puppet. Square root. Nick Fury breaks through defenses. Holy crap. Chapter 31, The Power of Love. Mission 3 completed, Bloodline Evolution, becoming a Namekian dragon. Nick Fury realized the truth, but he still found it hard to accept. After all, Pierce was the former director of SHIELD. It turned out the other party was Hydra. If it's true, then things are much worse than he imagined. After all, during the time the other side was in power, it was during the Cold War with the Soviet Union, a time of extreme tension. SHIELD had plenty of funding and was in a period of rapid expansion, recruiting a large number of agents. Who knows what the other person was doing at that time? How many spies have been planted in SHIELD? Not to mention, Peggy, standing nearby, looked serious. Pierce's position is higher than yours now. That's right. Although the other party has stepped down as director of SHIELD, he still holds an important position as the Secretary General of the World Security Council. Although calculated by the amount of power contained in his mysterious position, he did not have as much power as Nick Fury. But their status is very high. To completely defeat the opponent, sufficient evidence must be gathered before a swift and decisive strike is launched. Otherwise, given Peggy's understanding of Hydra, they will stop at nothing to destroy witnesses and evidence, making it difficult to bring Pierce down. They might even turn around and bite back. They directly removed Nick Fury from office. After all, Peggy's joke was evidence. Those suspected Hydra agents were, in the eyes of outsiders, Nick Fury's loyal subordinates, all of whom were part of his faction. What if these people turn around and bite back? Nick Fury's identity as a Hydra agent will then be confirmed. Nick was also extremely troubled. After all, he often dealt with high-level people and was very familiar with the difficulties and troubles of this matter. He tapped his finger lightly and immediately thought of a brilliant plan. Why are we afraid of undercover agents? Yes, I'm worried about intelligence leaks and backstabbing. So, Nick Fury's lips curled into a smile. He suddenly had a bold plan. If we're afraid of this threat, why aren't they afraid? I plan to send one of my top agents to assassinate Pierce.